TCU men's basketball needs a big man, and the TCU women are not getting the respect they deserve.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. I'm your host, Steven Simcox. We're brought to you today by FanDuel. Thanks for making this show your first listen. I've been covering TCU athletics for the past 12 seasons. We're going to cover a lot of ground today. I want to get to your thoughts. I talked on Wednesday about TCU football opening the 2026 season in Ireland against North Carolina. And I threw this question out to our season ticket holders who watch and listen to the show, or anybody, honestly. But people that go to these games on a consistent basis, are you disappointed that TCU is giving up a home game to travel overseas and play North Carolina? I said, I think it was the right decision by the school, by the university, for the TV ratings, for the exposure, but I understand why people are upset. And a number of you chimed in the YouTube comments, which you can always do. Happy draft day to everybody. Jack Besh and Savion Williams. I do not expect them to go tonight, just round one tonight, but I think both of these guys are very likely second or third round picks. So on Friday, should hear their name called. TCU baseball starts an important series with Baylor this weekend on Friday night. Need to bounce back after that series loss to UCF. But we begin today. The basketball portal is closed for now. That does not mean that the TCU men or women could not add another player. They could add another player. There are players out there to add. But for the moment, if you're on the roster, you need to stay on the roster. I was going to say have to, but it's hard to say anything with certainty in today's college sports. There's no movement happening right now, okay? So the roster that TCU basketball has, the men and the women, they can add somebody. They shouldn't lose someone in the near future. So I want to break down, what did they do? What do these rosters look like? Because it's wholesale changes on both teams. And what does it mean for Jamie Dixon and Mark Campbell's squads, respectively? So let's start with the TCU men. What do they need? They need a big man. The tallest player on this team is 6'9". They don't really have a true five outside of Malik Diallo, who played a number of minutes last year. And I think Malik, inconsistent would be the word I would use. And I don't say that in a disparaging way. Pretty typical for a young big man who's trying to learn what he needs to do and understand what happens at this level of basketball. Showed some good flashes because of Ernest Uday and him being the main centerpiece, and Ernest moves on to Miami. He didn't get to play a ton of minutes. When he did, he showed some nice things. He also had some games where he struggled. If the season started today, he would be your starter at the 5, I presume. And he would be asked to play a ton of minutes because behind him, Xavier Edmonds is a 4-5 tweener guy who played JUCO ball last year, was a very good JUCO player in Utah. David Punch is a true 4. Adam Stewart's a walk-on center, but he's a walk-on. He didn't really play much at all last season. So that's your situation at the center position right now. I think they need to go add another big man. But let's talk about what they've done. They made a very distinct choice this offseason. TCU men's basketball did. Frankie Collins out in the transfer portal, ended up at Vandy. Vashawn Ouellette out in the transfer portal. Ernest Uday headed to Miami in the transfer portal. Noah Reynolds graduates, moving on, right? They got rid of the older veteran guys. I thought they would keep Frankie Collins around. They decided not to do that. They are building around a young core of players. Diallo is one of those guys, but mainly David Punch, Micah Robinson, Jace Posey, and then you got a few young guys who didn't play last season, Ashton Simmons and RJ Jones. Could they take a big leap? Could they take a jump going into next year? They're hoping these guys can. And also a freshman in Caden Edwards from Duncanville, who is very highly rated. Think like Mike Miles type of prospect coming out of high school. And I imagine is going to be asked to play immediately, right? What did they do in the portal? Well, I talked about Frankie Collins moving on earlier. His replacement is Brock Harding. Brock Harding, 8 points, 8 rebounds a game last year at Iowa. He is a floor general. He is a prototypical old school point guard. His job on this team is going to be to distribute the basketball and get good shots for some of these shooters that they added. He did a nice job last season not turning the ball over, which was a big problem for TCU. But, I mean, a big part of that was Frankie goes down. They didn't have a true point guard. Who else could be at that point guard, combo guard spot? Again, Ashton Simmons is the name to know. He redshirted last year. RJ Jones, now he's going to be more of a scoring guard, but highly rated 4-star guy out of high school, went to Kansas State, redshirted there, or didn't play much there, I should say. Transfers to TCU, redshirted last season at TCU because of an injury. And so Simmons and Jones will be available this upcoming season. Other players that they added in the portal. Tanner Toulson, guard from Utah Valley, 13 points a game last season. Shot 38% from three. A theme with this team, better shooting. They're going to be able to space the floor better this year. Toulson also, when I was watching him, has a little bounce to his game. I mean, he's more athletic than you might give him credit for on the surface. But he can shoot it. He was a all-conference player in the WAC. Jaden Pierre from Providence. This is, I think if I had to choose today who was going to be the leader of your offense, it would be Jaden Pierre. He shouldered the scoring load on a Providence team that struggled for most of the season last year. Now, he is a volume shooter. He's going to put up a lot of shots. And he was about 30% from three last year. If he could take a jump and be more efficient, that would be huge for this team. Latarius Leviticus from overseas originally, played last year at Oregon State, has played some EuroLeague ball. LT is what they called him on some of the Oregon State broadcasts. I like that. It's got a TCU vibe to it. This is a 6'7" forward guard who can shoot the rock. Talking almost 40% from three. Another thing I like about his game, he was pretty relentless on the offensive glass. Seemed to have a good sense of how to use his body to get around defenders, tip the ball back in, get a rebound. And he is a good spot up shooter, especially in that corner shooting the three. The hope is if Harding and Simmons and Pierre, some of these guys can break down people off the dribble, it'll set up shots for Toulson and LT. So in some ways, they're bigger at some of the guard spots than they were last year, but overall, this is a small team right now. And I know it's probably costly to go get a center because you don't, 7-foot guys, 6'11" guys don't just grow on trees, right? They're rare. They're a commodity for a reason. But my two biggest concerns with this TCU basketball team right now. Okay, let me go positive first, actually. I like these pieces individually. I like the fact that they're adding some shooting to this roster. Because in my mind, that's the biggest thing that was missing from this team last year. They just couldn't hit open shots. They couldn't hit threes. And teams would pack the paint and force them into tough situations where they were dribbling the ball constantly because they were trying to get good shots. So with better shooting, this should be a more efficient offense. Defensively, jury's out. I don't really have a lot of projections about what they're going to look like defensively right now. Losing Uday is a big deal there because he's a rim protector and he was somebody who, at the very least, was deterring dribble penetration. But I think at his best, he was blocking shots on a consistent basis. So my concerns about this group, the rebounding aspect and the defensive aspect of just not having a true big man. And then it's a question that can be answered during non-conference play in the first few weeks of the season. But who's your go-to scorer? Is it going to be Jaden Pierre? Are you going to build this thing around David Punch, who hopefully can add some range to his game this offseason? Or Micah Robinson, or one of these dudes that redshirted? Is Caden Edwards going to come in and be a guy who can take over a game immediately. I have some skepticism about that. But you need somebody in late shot clock situations or just in general that can go get a quality shot. They didn't really have that player last year. Aulette and Reynolds were the closest to those guys, but it was hit or miss if they could do it on a consistent basis. So who is that go-to scorer going to be? And are you going to get bigger? And if you're not, how do you combat this size disadvantage that you're going to have on a nightly basis, especially in Big 12 play? But I like some of the things that they've done. Again, I think individually there's good pieces here and there's some intriguing players. This is going to be a better shooting team. But still a number of questions for Jamie Dixon as he turns this roster over and gives it a go. Okay, before we go to break, let's talk about the TCU women as well. Coming off an Elite 8 appearance, all their big three are gone. So Haley Van Lith, Sedona Prince, Madison Connor, Agnes Imanopu moving on as well. Some of your bench players like Daisha Merrill. This is an entirely new roster also. Your returners that you're counting on to do some good things for you. Donovan Hunter, Maddie Shear coming back from a back injury, Taylor Bigby, and then, of course, in the portal, the big addition, Olivia Miles, who is projected to be the number 2 pick in the WNBA draft this year. She decides to stay in school and play for Mark Campbell. She will take over that Haley Van Lith role. This is going to be her show. They're going to run, pick and roll with Olivia Miles all day long. That's what their offense is going to be. Elsewhere in the portal, they added Marta Suarez from Cal, who averaged 14 points a game last year. She can shoot it. And a lot of size on this roster now. Clara Silva, young center from Kentucky, who's 6'7". Kendi Basham, a veteran player from Arizona State, who's 6'7". Sarah Portlock and Emily Hunter, both 6'7" freshmen who are going to be a part of this roster. They were not included in Charlie Cream's way too early top 25. I think that's silly. I also don't feel like it's a huge deal. I think a team with Olivia Miles as their centerpiece will be a AP ranked top 25 team in the preseason. But this is an intriguing group. I got a lot of confidence and faith in Mark Campbell after last year because I had questions about okay, I think this team's going to be better. Can they truly come together? They did in a big way. Now he has to do it again. And Olivia Miles is going to have to be a star as advertised, and the other pieces around her will have to step up. But I have a lot of faith that they can make this work because they're just coming off a season where they were in a very similar situation, and this coaching staff did an outstanding job. It's draft night. When will Savion Williams and Jack Besh hear their name called? We'll talk about that next year on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app or go to FanDuel.com today. The NBA playoffs are here. Right now, if you place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if that bet wins. They make betting so easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or if you want to get into player props, from three-pointers to steals and assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can still do live bets in a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Go to FanDuel.com. Again, your first $5 bet, if it wins, $250 in bonus bets. FanDuel.com or the FanDuel app. Download it today. Your first $5 bet wins. You get $250 in bonus bets. Give FanDuel a try right now. Round 1 of the NFL draft is tonight. Savion Williams and Jack Besh. I do not expect their names to be called this evening, but I think both of these guys are potential round 2 or round 3 picks, which would be day 2 on Friday. Excited for both of them. Incredible stories. Jack's story has and the attention around him has really grown from an off the field perspective. Tragically, his brother Tiger passed away in the terrorist attack in New Orleans on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And I saw he was on the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark recently. His family has handled this so graciously in the face of tragedy. He was MVP of the Senior Bowl. And he's also just done an amazing job on the field through this process. Really turned some heads at the Senior Bowl during practice. And then in the game itself, obviously winning the MVP trophy. But he's handled this so graciously. It's really been amazing to see. I'm excited for him. I hope that it works out and that he gets the right fit, because when we talk about like outside, it's always about fit and what organization you ends up with. But I think especially outside of the first round, so much of it just comes down to where did you go and what resources do they have for you? How much do they believe in you? Both of these guys, in Jack's case, I mean, he had a productive career early on. Was a freshman All-American at LSU, mainly in the slot, kind of an H-back type of player. He gets to TCU, and I didn't realize this until reading his draft profile. I remember that his first year at TCU he was banged up, but I forgot that he only had 12 catches. I mean, it makes sense. I remember he had a fourth down conversion against BYU, and there were a couple other catches during the season, but he was injured and he wasn't available, so he wasn't on the field. And then during fall camp last season, Sonny Dykes was like, this dude was the MVP of fall camp. I did a show about that where I was like, okay, that's interesting, right? Because he wasn't really a player that I was factoring in as a major piece of this offense. And then game one against Stanford, he shows up outside wide receiver and just goes crazy and continued that all throughout the year. Ends up with over 1,000 yards receiving. I mean, he was so good in contested catch situations. He was great at route running. He was always open. And it's a testament to his work ethic and his belief that, at least according to Sonny, I mean, it kind of came down to they needed somebody to play that role right before the season started. And they asked Josh Hoover about it. And Josh, without even taking a beat, was like, is Jack Besh. Like, that's the dude I want out there because I trust him. I trust him to go make plays. And he was 100% right about that. He went on to have an outstanding season. And I think Jackson be a really good NFL wide receiver. I saw Green Bay could be an option. That sounds wonderful. They're just, well, one, it's happening in Green Bay, so that'd be cool. But also, top flight organization. They're essentially the opposite of the team I root for, the Cowboys, which is the most dysfunctional organization in sports. And they know how to churn out really good wide receivers. Jordan Love's a great quarterback. That would be a great place for him. Savion, what a season, man. I mean, he was for years a player that we mentioned as he's got potential. If TCU could ever just kind of figure out the way they need to use him and how to get him more involved, the sky's the limit. And finally, last year, getting him in that Wildcat spot, putting him in the backfield, it unlocked so much of who he was. And Savion was a player that was on draft radars before the second half of last season. He was a popular, like, dark horse kind of, hey, look what this guy did against Texas last year. That was the tape that you always saw when draft people would talk about him. But then he had like a complete season where he played at a high level. And so whoever takes him is somebody who hopefully understands the type of versatility he brings to the table and is ready to unlock that. But Savion's a great story. I mean, he's a fifth-year guy that paid his dues and for a long time was that secondary option to Quentin Johnston. Got an opportunity to be the dude. It didn't really work out in his first season doing that, but in year two, they found a way to get what they needed out of him. And he stayed the course, and he worked really hard and made it happen. So both of those guys, looking forward to hearing their names called. JP Richardson, maybe a late round pick. There's a couple other guys that I expect to be late round picks or potentially, undrafted free agent guys. But for Jack and Savion, they're definitely going to hear their name called over the next couple of days. And I'm excited to see where they end up and what it's going to look like when they make it to whatever NFL organization they do. But draft starts tonight on ESPN, coverage there all weekend. So check it out. And congratulations to all the TCU guys that are getting drafted or getting an opportunity in camp, because that's such a rare and incredible thing to get that done. When we come back, what do you guys think about TCU opening the season in Ireland in 2026? That's coming up here on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. One of our new sponsors, Amazon Fire TV. I have a Fire Stick myself, and I love it. Up in our bedroom, go upstairs, boom. Get on, whatever, Hulu, Disney Plus, Max, all the apps we have access to. Watch our shows. It's been great. Fire Stick, they make it super easy for you. It's easy to use. And now they have a new Fire TV that can also turn into an Xbox. With the latest technology, the Fire Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds you need to stay competitive. They have endless entertainment with 4K streaming that allows you to watch on your favorite services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Affordable and portable gaming. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Get Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller. They are required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, 2nd Gen Fire TV 4 Stick Max, 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube, 3rd generation. Amazon Fire Stick, now in 4K. Give it a try today. Go to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On. So TCU football is going to open their season in Ireland against North Carolina in 2026. That was announced on Tuesday. I talked about it on Wednesday, and I wanted to know, I had two questions. I was like, who's going to try to make the trip? One. And then for our season ticket holders, how are you feeling about this? So David May says he's going to try to go. And he said 6, 7, or 8 games at home, they'll adjust the cost of season tickets to match. Unfortunately, the prices will increase each season. Welcome to revenue sharing. Yeah, that's part of it. That's a good point. I mean, we're entering a world where all this revenue is going to start going to the players, which, I mean, we've called for that, right? Like, I think that's how it should be. But the fans are going to foot the bill for some of it. And between that and just the cost of everything going up, yeah, I would expect it to continue to rise. Brian Capers says he and Holly will be there. That's awesome. Hope you guys have a great trip. Devil Frog asked, at what point does the athletic department start looking out for season ticket holders? I know it stinks, man. I'm sympathetic to it. Again, I think two things can be true, and it's feel free to disagree with me, but I feel like this was the right call from a branding perspective, from an exposure perspective. It's another standalone game. It's going to be the only game that weekend. But, I mean, I totally get it. Like, you want to see TCU play in the Carter, and this is another non-conference home game, like Ohio State, like LSU, like so many others, where the rug has been pulled out from under us, like right before it's supposed to happen. And TCU has not played big-name non-conference opponents at home. They just haven't done it. And they're getting rid of the iron skillet. And the hope was maybe they would bring some high-profile games to replace that, but I think they're going to mainly just stick with G5 and FCS games. Jacob Langford says he is upset. Why can't we get a good non-con game at the Carter? Doesn't make sense. He says Ireland's too rich for his wallet. And then Jeffrey Chapman, he had a long reply, but it was good. I'll try to summarize here. He thinks it's a total bait and switch, TCU going to Ireland when they were supposed to play North Carolina at home. It would have been great to have Bill Belichick on campus. And then he listed the future non-conference home games outside of Stanford, Duke, or Purdue. Arkansas State, Sam Houston, Southeast Louisiana, and Texas State. He thinks that's a snooze fest, just to be honest about it. And I understand that. I get it. Like, this is another potential big non-conference game that's being taken away from us. And I don't have a great response for it other than I think they just did what they felt like was best for the program as a whole. But I know that the fans are the ones that suffer for it. And it's unfortunate. So we'll see. I mean, they have to schedule one more non-conference game for 2026, but I wouldn't get my hopes up about it being a big time opponent. That's just my thoughts. We'll be back tomorrow. It's Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel or on your favorite podcast platform.